people that know me know that I own a real estate company, commercial lender, and I'm now pushing HRN Capital, which is private money, direct money. The reason I want to talk about it, and I have Ed here, is because basically you're looking at the underwriting committee. You bring me a deal, I look at the deal, I can tell you right then and there if it's going to work. If we issue a commitment, I want to say it's almost like 100% going to close unless something crazy, like you get arrested by the FBI the day before the closing, we're going to close it. And I think that is something I want to touch upon. I also like what you said about service, because what I'm hearing a lot of is people don't pick up the phone when there's a hard phone call to make. And I pick up the phone no matter what. Like that's just one of my things. So good news, bad news, no news, you're get an update. But I also want to talk about, there's so many different people right now talking about hard money. And I'm going to get back to that in a second. So you hear a lot of people talking about their hard money lenders, their private money lenders. But the difference here is simple, that we are actually lending our own leveraged asset. A lot of guys, I'm not going to name any names in this video, I don't want to get any phone calls. They're actually selling, table funding. They're selling their asset to another investor off their credit line, but they're also subject to that investor's underwriting. So let's just use an example. If I worked at one of those places, I said, "Oh, you look good, no problem. We're good to go." And then I send the package over to my investor, and so many things can go wrong, right? Like I said, real estate is a moving target. Maybe credit expires, maybe something happened. They want to repo credit, and something's different. They can always say, "No, we're not doing this. We're gonna do the deal." And then you get that phone call where they're like, "I thought I was good to go," and you're really not. That's never gonna happen here. We have no minimum FICO, so even if you don't exist, and you have a building that you want us to lend on, we can lend on it. We can lend to foreign nationals, people that don't even have social security numbers, correct?
That's correct.
65 LTV, and we can close in 10 days. So I think that's really the biggest difference I want to touch on right now, because I'm seeing a lot of proliferation of people coming out saying they're this, they're that, but in reality they're not. And for the unsophisticated investor, it doesn't really matter to you, but for the guy that needs an answer and is depending on execution and speed for their capital to finish their leverage, whatever their asset is, so they can finish their plan, that's a fucking game changer. So that's why I wanted to make this video. On top of that, private money is a great asset, or hard money is a great tool for a quick execution on, like, maybe your credit's not where it should be, you don't have the time to wait for a bank's decision, you can grab the asset. But I think especially a lot of our minorities are not understanding that once you get into it and use the hard money, you should be having an exit strategy. And I think that's where we kind of make a difference. Once I put you into a hard money loan for 12 months, I can just immediately start prepping you for your exit and put you into one of our non-QM products, where I can have an exit for you as little as 6 months later, right? So I think that's the biggest difference that people have to understand. It's a short-term solution to execute on something you need to do quickly. But as soon as you get in, you should have a plan, or the professional you're dealing with should have a plan for you on how to get out, because that's where people tend to fall into problems. I don't know if you're going to agree with me what I'm about to say, but we met at the height of COVID, where a lot of the banks that I was selling my loans to just shut the door. I would call them. I had millions of dollars waiting to close, and I had to find solutions. I ended up looking for smaller banks, and smaller banks put me in contact with, the people that were still lending were still looking for deals, and I had a lot of deals, so I had to figure it out, and I was able to pivot. So, in crisis, there was an opportunity. I see that happening again in a few months, to be quite honest with you, and I think that's why I wanted to put this information out there. I think there will be there's a resurgence right now in the non-QM market, and everybody keeps calling me. When I mean everybody besides clients, market, smaller banks, we want you to come on with us, we want you to lend, we want you to do this. But I maybe I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder from what happened in March, when I thought that I could count on them, and it was not so. It was just like, we can't lend it, we can't sell it. And that's the game changer. So if you're dealing with me, and I say it's going to happen, the world can go upside down, it's still going to happen as long as we go to the closing table. Did you have something you want to add to that?
Yeah, and actually what I want to talk about, and actually to add to your point, is a couple of things. It's very important to know that when you're going to a broker, or when you're going to borrow money from someone who is not a decision maker or who does not use their own money, what happens is that like you said about table funding, right? What happens is when they do a table funding, they lend out the money, and a minute later it goes to another lender who now will own your loan. And guess what? Maybe 3-4 days later, it goes to a different lender who's going to own your loan. And then maybe a month from now, if you have a problem, you're going to call somebody. You're going to call Mr. Cooper. You know, who's Mr. Cooper if you got the money from Joe? And that's what happens.
What are you talking about? A secondary servicing market, and a lot of people don't understand. They get these new bills in their mailbox. They don't understand why is my loan being sold. It's servicing rights. They make money off of each payment. They get paid to collect the money from you to sell to whoever is the final investor.
Right. And what that poses is a huge issue with you getting out from hard money into regular financing or non-QM financing. And that's exactly what Omar was talking about, is how are you going to progress from hard money to regular financing to conventional, or maybe a better rate or a longer term to achieve your goals. And that's really our job as direct lenders, how to achieve that. And as far as what you said, what happened through COVID and how we met, and about the money and non-QM losing its liquidity and totally, pulling the rug
Being non-existent,
pulling the rug from under you, is exactly what happens. And a simple example is very much, you need a carton of milk and you go to the store and there's no milk.
Right.
But
Or toilet paper.
Or whatever, or toilet paper, exactly. Yeah. But if you own the cow, you just go to the cow and you milk the cow. So basically think of us as that way.
We're the cow.
We're the cow.
Well, the mission is simple. It's I'm looking forward to help people, leverage their assets, reposition themselves, and then finally get them out into a sustainable loan. But like I said, if I say we're going to do it, we're going to do it. No ifs, ands, or buts. All right, Ed Gillen, anything in closing that you want to say?
I want to say that I'm glad there was COVID so we could meet.
There's always good news. Yeah.
All right. And I'm glad that we survived it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you survived it. And I hope everybody on the other
side of the camera
of that lens also survives it. And just want to tell you that there's absolutely not one commitment that ever left our office that did not close, other than somebody's title was just so screwed up that nobody can fix it.
So the moral of the story is, you call me, I give you a commitment, we're closing. All right, and don't just survive, thrive. Ed Gillen, thank you very much.